again, everyone. A little less dramatic than the last opportunity. I have the honor and pleasure of introducing our governor. We've heard through this discussion, and we've talked earlier this morning about what makes government work. We talked about soliciting feedback. We talked about input. We talked about strong leadership and understanding the issues. Governor Lamont has been an amazing partner, not only to the city of Waterbury, but to the Naugatuck+Valley COG, and quite frankly, every city and town in the state. So I've been in public service for about 42 years. I know I don't look it, but the reality is I've worked for and with a lot of governors. This governor, when elected in 2018, he really made such an impression on me and the area leaders because he was always soliciting feedback and information. And most importantly, he has visited this city and the towns in this COG more so than any other governor I've ever seen in my life, honestly. And the amazing thing is his staff is very in tune to constituent service, and the governor himself understands the issues in various parts of the state of Connecticut. We are delighted with the collaboration that we've had from Governor Lamont, and we are also delighted with the support, whether it is the expansion of the rail service, which is so important, of course, to NVCOG, the brownfield redevelopment projects. Of course, Waterbury and the region leads the state in this area. The reason why we lead the state in this area, quite frankly, is the funding that is available through the governor's administration. And so we are in a position to really appreciate what has happened in our region and the successes of our region. Rick Dunn talked about the RAISE grant that we recently received for $23 million, which is a federal grant, but you couldn't get that federal grant without strong support from the governor's office. So these are just very quick glimpses of what can happen when a governor really gets involved personally and administratively in the issues that challenge our COG towns, and our region. So it is really a great pleasure and a delight to have Governor Lamont here with us this morning. He's thrilled to come on out and speak with you. Please a warm welcome for Governor Ned Lamont. Governor.
Thanks, Neil.
My pleasure, sir.
Yeah, big yellow chair looks pretty comfortable, actually. Hey, good morning, everybody. Whoa, it's bright. Everybody doing okay? I'll just pick up where Neil left off. A really great friend and a great partner, and that's one of the things I've learned in this job, going on now 4 years. You know, the municipal and the state and the federal and how we have to work together. We learned that really accelerated during COVID. Also love what you're doing in the COGS and Neil taking the lead there. You're so much more effective when you can work together. And during those worst days of COVID, you know, I was on the phone every day with New York and New Jersey, and in particular Massachusetts and Rhode Island, because if we could speak with one voice and we could work together, it made a much bigger difference. And now in terms of what we're trying to do in transportation and the environment, education, crime, all things where we work together as a region and you work together as a region makes us a lot more effective. I'll just say the silver lining on COVID was I think a lot of people rediscovered what makes Connecticut such an amazing place. I think the fact that we got our schools open faster than just about anybody. We kept our parks and beaches. We kept our manufacturing open. We kept construction open. And people noticed. And we had tens of thousands of new families moving into the state of Connecticut. Not old guys like me, young families moving in with kids. And what that meant for our schools, rejuvenating our towns, The outdoor dining was a bit of a silver lining in the sense that all of a sudden people saw, hey, this place is sort of fun on a Thursday night. Look at all the other people dining out here. People noticed that going forward. And I'd say also that was reflected. We had more new business startups than we've had before. And we have, for the first time in my life, 100,000 jobs we can't fill. And if I have a priority 1, 2, and 3 over the course of the next 4 years, if I get that opportunity, it's make sure that we train people for the jobs that are out there. Leave nobody behind, an opportunity to lift everybody up. Right here in Waterbury, right here in terms of advanced manufacturing, right here in terms of advanced manufacturing, we have a need for 100 laser welders. So we've changed the course of how we're doing our community college. It's not necessarily for 2 full years, but you can take an 18-week certificate program and be whatever you want to be and get that job, and then you're earning while you're learning. And I think that makes a big difference. I was on my way over here, and I got the inflation numbers. I just might as well think out loud a little bit. Inflation is still hard. Inflation is still sticky. Inflation is coming down, but it's coming down very slowly, and not enough outside of energy to mitigate what is really a tough time for a lot of working families. Good news is the price of gasoline is down 16 weeks in a row. It's saving us about $1 a gallon. That's maybe $10, $20 extra per week, and what that means depending on your lifestyle. But food and restaurants, those are still very sticky. And I think about that in terms of our state budget. And I worried a little bit about a state budget which over the last 20 years has sort of gone from boom to bust and crisis to crisis, and oh, woe is me. So I've been very cautious. I'd love your feedback on this. We've made some of the biggest investments this state has made in many a year in terms of, transportation and education and daycare. But I've also wanted to keep some powder dry. And there's a lot of pressure in the legislature to spend the money now, get that money out the door. But in the face of these inflationary pressures, in the face of what could be a Federal Reserve that probably is going to, raise interest rates another 75 basis points, we got to be ready. And I think we are ready. I think we've got, I was very conservative in our budgeting in terms of estimating not that our revenues were going to go up, but that our revenues were going to go down a little bit, especially when it came to capital gains. As you know, we've set aside $3.5 billion in our rainy day fund. I know that's burning a hole in a lot of legislative pockets, but I think it positions us well. And to each and every one of you in municipalities, to those in your business community, to tell them we have the resources in place that even if there are some headwinds, even if there is a recession coming along at the end of this year, we're not going to have to raise taxes, and we're not going to have to cut education spending. We're not going to have to cut municipal spending. We can carry on. And I think that is a big plus in terms of, sort of the back and forth we've had as a state in many, many a year. I'll just close with the fact that I'm somebody who believes in good government, believes good government can make a difference. I'm a guy that comes out of business, first business guy you've had in this job in many a year. So I wasn't, a little skeptical of government and, what I saw. And I want to do everything I can over the last 3 years and going forward to continue to earn your confidence that these are monies that are well invested. And your tax dollars are going to make a difference, not just tomorrow here in Waterbury and the Valley, but for years to come. The first thing I wanted to do was, the state employees, they, retire early, and they're not very efficient. So the first interface that people had with state government, I remembered, was DMV, Department of Motor Vehicles, right? And so we said, all right, let's see if we can modernize Department of Motor Vehicles. Let's say it's as modern as Amazon. Let's make sure that you don't have to wait in a long curling line for 2 hours and take a half a day out of work to renew your license. So now you can renew your license while lying in bed, having a Dunkin' Donuts coffee online. And just wanted to send a signal that we are modernizing ourselves in a way that can make a difference. And when I look at the infrastructure money, when it comes to brownfields, when it comes to transportation, I want people to have a sense of confidence that we'll be able to make a long-term difference as well, especially right here in the Valley. Let's face it, our rail ridership was down quite a bit during COVID. And you could have gone one of two directions. Maybe we got too many rail cars. Maybe we shouldn't spend so much on rail. I said, or maybe just the opposite. Maybe we accelerate the number of rail cars and make them go two-way on the Naugatuck+Valley line and leave an hour earlier in the morning and come back an hour later at night and give people more flexibility. You'll see ridership go up. You'll see car driving go down. You'll integrate the valley into the rest of the greater state. Maybe easier access down to Bridgeport, down to Stamford, up to New Haven. And that's what we've done. And so far, we see ridership continuing to go up and the difference that makes. I've seen that in terms of a lot of development along the railway now. You know, these are a lot of towns that haven't seen a lot of population growth and haven't seen a lot of new housing over the last 10, 20, 30 years. I think, and I hope you agree with this, we're seeing a lot more growth right now. I know a lot of population increase. I see a lot more housing. We call it transit-oriented development. Look, I'm a big believer in zoning, but I'm also a big believer in downtown development, bringing our towns back to life. What that means for young people, if you don't have to have a car, you can just hop on a train, come on right down to Waterbury, go the other direction. That's what we want to make it easier as well. So I'll just leave you with the fact that I'm really optimistic about this state. You know, I love this state. I hope you do as well. I think the state was a little down on itself, 5 years ago. What's the matter with Connecticut? GE leaves, last one out, turn out the lights, all the cool kids, oh man, they're moving down to New York City. And I think we turned that around a little bit. I think a lot of people really realize what makes Connecticut such an amazing state. I think they love the fact that we have some of the best schools in the world. I think they love the fact that we do have 100,000 jobs, amazing job opportunities right now, good paying jobs for folks that want to change career, an opportunity to upgrade there, get a pay raise. For folks coming out of high school, we've got a job for you. And we'll provide the job training you need. We'll provide the daycare and childcare if that's what it takes to get you going again. And I think that's the optimism that continues to power the great state of Connecticut. And I want to tell you on a personal note, thank you so much for the opportunity to be your governor. I love the opportunity every day. I hope we're making a difference together. Thanks, everybody.